On Wednesday, I made a bold claim. I said that your lack of self leadership might be the very thing holding you back. Not your talent, not your opportunities, and not even your circumstances, but your ability or inability to lead yourself. Now, I know that may sound a little strong at first because when we think about leadership, we usually think about leading others. We think about managers, coaches, CEOs, or people in positions of authority. But the truth is, before you can lead anything else, you must first learn how to lead yourself. And when self leadership is missing, it quietly begins to affect every area of your life. It affects your productivity, your mindset, your progress, and even your mental health. That's why today we're going deeper. We're going to talk about the hidden effects of bad self leadership, five practical ways to start leading yourself effectively, and how strong self leadership accelerates your progress. Because once you learn how to lead yourself well, everything else begins to move forward. Hello, welcome back to JC's Learning Edge for another Friday deep dive. I'm so glad that you all are here, and I'm most excited about our topic on today. We're continuing on this same topic of self leadership, and I believe this is going to be really um, helpful. So please get your notes out, lock in for the next about 7 minutes, and I promise you, you won't regret it. Now, let's get into my first point. We're going to talk about the effects of bad self leadership. When you don't lead yourself properly, there are consequences, whether you realize it or not. It can cause burnout and mental fatigue because because instead of being proactive, you're reactive. Now, we kind of talked about this on Wednesday. I used the analogy of when you're in reactive mode, you're spending all of your time putting out fires. However, in proactive mode, you prevent them. Therefore, spending most of your time in reactive mode, just reacting to what life throws at you, can cause high levels of stress, irritability, and exhaustion. Secondly, it can cause a lack of accountability. You start blaming your circumstances and others for your failures instead of taking ownership of them. For example, let's say a student gets a F in math, and instead of taking ownership of it by saying, I just didn't prepare enough, or I need to work harder next semester by getting additional tutoring, they say, my teacher just don't like me. That's why I failed. Or the test is impossible to pass. The questions were just too hard. See, this kind of behavior prevents growth and leaves you in an endless game of who's to blame. Therefore, I want you to take some time to self evaluate. Ask yourself and be honest. Am I suffering from the effects of bad self leadership? But here's the thing, if you are, don't worry. You can make changes today. And that leads me to my second point, how to lead yourself effectively. Now let's get practical. I'm gonna give you five practical steps to start leading yourself effectively. Step one, you must change your mindset. Instead of viewing your setbacks as a failure, view it as an opportunity to grow and learn. For example, let's say a student failed a class and he says, I got a D on this exam. I studied for hours. I studied for hours. I'm never going to pass this class. You see, this is the wrong mindset to have because if you want to reach high levels of success, if you want to reach high levels of success, because with this mindset, when things get hard, you quit. When you receive a little bit of resistance, you start to quit. But if you reframe this to, I got a D on this exam, which means my study method was not effective for this type of exam. The test showed me that maybe I know the facts, but I just don't know how to apply it. I don't understand the application questions. Maybe I need to get additional tutoring. You see the difference? This reframed mindset will help you reach high levels of success because it teaches you not to quit when things start to get hard, but it teaches you to adjust. And lastly, we must get out of this mindset of we made it. There's nothing else for us to learn because that's the other extreme. where you feel like you made it, you stop trying to learn, you stop trying to grow. But instead, we need to take on the mindset of continuous growth in learning. Because listen, there's always new things, new skills, and new concepts to learn that'll help us hit even higher levels of success. Now, step two, set clear goals and priorities by utilizing the SMART goal framework. Specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic, and time bound. Use this framework to define your personal and professional goals. And listen, I want you to focus on doing the right things instead of just doing more things. I feel like time sometimes we try to get busier thinking that's going to actually help us be productive, but the truth is we must realign and ensure that we're doing things that actually set us on the right path to whatever goal we're reaching for. Now, step three, I want you to practice holding yourself accountable. Hold yourself to the same standards you expect from others. I feel like that's fair. Hold yourself to the same standard you expect from others without getting into self-blame. We talked about that. Now, step four, create a productive environment. That means have a space that's intentionally designed to minimize distractions, maximize comfort, and that promotes focus. And like I used this example before, when I was getting my degree, I did realize a difference from when my workspace was clean versus when it was kind of dirty. When it was dirty, I don't know, I had a mental fog. But when I walked into a clean workspace, it was easier for me to focus and actually get what I needed to get done. So this type of space can look like, keeping your workspace clean, as we talked about, putting your phone on do not disturb, or preparing your workspace the night before. Just a few things you can do today. Now, step five. For the final step, I want you to have some time of personal reflection. You should regularly assess how are you showing up? Are you actually being productive? Not just being busy. Are you actually being productive? And if not, what is hindering your progress? And then remove that object. Now that we've gone through the steps to lead yourself effectively, let's get into my third point on how effective self leadership affects your growth and affects your progress. To start, it enhances your productivity and focus by setting clear, realistic goals and prioritizing tasks that align with your goals and avoid distractions. Secondly, it helps you build greater resilience and adaptability. You can better navigate challenges and bounce back from failures because you possess the mental toughness and growth mindset to push through and learn from your setbacks instead of letting them, keep you in the bottomless pit of despair. Also, it promotes proactive career growth. Instead of waiting for opportunities, you take responsibility for your development, and you take initiative on finding new opportunities, which leads to faster advancement and increased career success. Lastly, self leadership helps you sustain your performance. I feel sometimes we fear, and I know I have, we fear that we won't be able to sustain the production that we're currently doing. But effective self leadership can help with it. It helps you manage your emotions, your energy, and your mental health. And it helps you, avoid burnout, or it just gives you a better chance of preventing it. And it helps you maintain a high level of output. Because, what type of success is it if once you reach it, you fall right back off the cliff? When true success is when you can get there and maintain it. And honestly, this is, one of the core ideas behind my book, Graduating Half the Time, The Secrets of Self-Paced Learning. A lot of people think finishing, faster in school or succeeding in any goal is just about having the right strategy. But strategy alone, it isn't enough. You also need the discipline to execute it. You need the mindset to adjust when things go wrong. And you need the self leadership to stay consistent even when no one is watching. In the book, I break down practical strategies that help you take ownership of your learning. It helps you stay focused and move through your goals with clarity and discipline. So, if you're serious about accelerating your education and building the habits that successful people rely on, make sure you grab your copy, because success isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about becoming the kind of person who actually does it. So the link is in the description in my bio, and you can look it up on Amazon. Check it out. Now, as I close, I want to leave this with you. Your life will always move in the direction of your leadership. If you lead yourself with discipline, clarity, and accountability, ultimately your progress will reflect it. But if you avoid responsibility, you blame circumstances and constantly react instead of preparing, your progress will reflect that too. That's why self leadership matters so much, because the quality of your leadership determines the quality of your results. And if this message helped you, challenged you, or gave you something to think about, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future midweek motivations and Friday deep dives designed to help you grow, think differently, and move forward with purpose. We're all trying to reach new levels of success. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, I ask that you please share it with them, because sometimes the breakthrough people need are waiting for starts, are waiting, with a simple shift. Sometimes people just need a new perspective on things, and how and I believe this message really show people how to truly lead themselves in a way where they can reach that new level of success. And that being said, thank you for watching, and as always, success doesn't shout, it shows up. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.